Welcome to this case study. We're going to be talking today with Adele from Hawaii. Adele is a beautiful intuitive therapist who works with neurologically diverse bodies and helps them to feel more in tune and more in sync. And it comes from her own story of being diagnosed with adult ADHD and how she's been able to braid what she's learned through her own journey to be able to help and support other people in her area, both adults, kids, and everyone in between. What she's also been able to do is figure out that she doesn't have to be everything for everyone, but she also doesn't have to treat just one style of person. She had set up some amazing things in her business and then was able to put it on the back burner because she needed to deal with some external circumstances, which always come up for us. We all have things like that. And then she's been able to pick up right where she left off because she's got some exceptionally good, powerful systems in place. And honestly, she's only halfway through the course, so I can't wait to be able to share this with you. She's going to share with you her story of how she transitioned from kind of right from scratch to being able to be fully booked, pare it back when she needed to, and now ramp it up for fully booked again because she's ready to rock. Hi, Adele. How you going?
Hi, how is it, Alicia?
So excited to be able to chat with you today. Thank you so much for connecting with me and being willing to come on and have a chat. Can you tell us a little bit about your business, who you are, who you help, where you're located, and share all things you and your fabulous business?
Yeah. I am located in Hilo, Hawaii. That's on the Big Island, and it's our biggest town on the Big Island, but it's really a fairly small town. I want to say around 40 or 50,000. So my population draw is not huge, but I'm really centrally located and have just a really great opportunity in my location. I was able to connect with an esthetician who had a more long-standing business here in the downtown as well. When I was ready to kind of come back into focusing on stuff after COVID was shifting enough that I could kind of conceptualize like trying the next thing. And so I've just been super lucky to get to coordinate with her. So I run and own my own business, but I rent a space inside of a suite that is our spa. And so we have a beautiful bathroom with a shower so I can do scrub treatments and everything. My personal focus generally is I really like to work with nervous system effects generally. I have ADHD. That was a big piece of my self-revelation. I guess about 9 months ago that had come together, and a lot of people are not super familiar with the difference in the diagnostic for women with ADHD, which incidentally is often misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia and sometimes even Parkinson's, because it is a systemic nervous system condition. And the behavioral aspects that we think of identifying is like just the tip of the iceberg. So I had gone through so many different processes trying to like address my own nervous system stuff before kind of that coming to a head and it being clear for that. So it was just something that I had exposed myself to a lot over the course of massage school. I always was really interested in anybody that had nervous system stuff, getting my hands on them, and had just kind of developed a sense for that. And incidentally, at least one of my parents, if not more of the ascending line, is a very genetic condition. And so I grew up working on people with ADHD since I was probably like 3 or 4. And we would sit around and just kind of get into like tactile mode. And it was just like intuitive for all of us to want to like be touched more than is quite average, and to be snuggly and pokey and wiggly and kind of spastic. And so that was like a big part of the bonding in my family growing up. And I didn't go straight into massage, but when it was like time to shift gears and choose the next thing, kind of go back into the adult world after having kids, that was something that bubbled up really strong for me and just felt like the right way to go. So of course I work with a wide variety of people, but really try to reach out for all like neurodiversity conditions and being supportive of autism and ADHD and like just general sensory processing stuff. So I like to have a tight control in my room where I can adjust literally everything, the lighting and the temperature of the table and the temperature of the blankets, and like everything super, super soft and smooth, and surfaces can all be like completely clean. And so I'm a little bit neurotic in that way, but I accept that about myself and really enjoy working with clients that way.
Is it to be able to understand not only yourself, but others? And often, you know, for those listening, our niche is often a reflection of ourselves, you know, so when we get it, that like I can treat complicated cases because I am one, you know, with chronic scoliosis and, you know, back surgery and things like that. When someone had lots of surgeries and was like, oh, I've got this, you know, they're worried, they feel it. I get it because I understand it. And I can go, I've got 5 thoracic discs removed and 3 half ribs and a full rib. And I'm, you know, fused for 10 vertebral levels. So I, you know, I don't understand everyone's pain, but I have an appreciation for how you feel. And I'm imagining for you, and having that understanding and that beautiful base of awareness of yourself actually allows you to care and nurture so many gorgeous people in that space, which is amazing. So tell us a bit about, where were you at in your business? How did you attract these people in before we started working together? What was it looking like?
Yeah, honestly, I was kind of coming back in from scratch because I had just kind of hit a threshold where I was like seeing like up to 6 or 7 people in a week right when COVID hit, and we had moved to this area like in the previous like 18 months, I guess. And so I really didn't have a network. I didn't have people that I knew. My kids had been briefly in school, but we were pulling them out. We had like no normal contact points to engage with the people in the community. And so that was one of the big pieces where it was like starting to get momentum and starting to understand like where I wanted to go, what was working, what wasn't working. And it was just like back to square one, and I didn't have a space, and we were locked down pretty significantly here. Being on an island, the ability to control COVID was pretty high, so the restrictions were pretty high at first. And so when I contacted you guys, I knew that I had the space lined up and was still kind of in the process of moving into it. And I had fiddled around with some other like, you know, read books and like done trials on a few other programs. And I had the ebook from like way back when in my phone that I'd like scrolled through a handful of times when I was like bored and wishful about like future things, you know. And like just out of the stuff that I saw, I felt like it, like you guys were doing the closest resonance to just like how I view the world and how I want to like respect people and treat people and be communicated with myself. And so when it was like time, and also in the process with we were diving in my meds, I was seeing doctors all the time, and I was like making all this headway with like I can do 1,000 things every day that I didn't used to ever be able to do, and I was like super jazzed. So I was like, it's time, and it's also time for me to stop completely reinventing the wheel in every situation that I get into, and it's time for me to just listen to people who already know what they're doing and not pay for the various consequences of creativity. And just go straight for the like, all right, give me the instructions, and I just want to go through the list and do the things. A bunch of the stuff I had already done in different ways, but was having to reorganize it for like a different branding model since I was pairing with somebody else's business in terms of how we're being seen. And so I had to drop my old branding and drop my old website, and it was like, well, I'm kind of starting from scratch anyway, so I may as well just kind of like ask for guidance as I'm learning to do in so many categories of my life. So yeah, it was really exciting to get to connect with you guys.
So cool. So cool. So tell us a bit about like what did you start to get out of the program? As you said, you'd already learned a bunch of stuff in other places, and that is so normal. A lot of people some people come to us with nothing, and some people are like, I've read a bit of this and I've read a bit of that, but it's not coming together in the way that I want. So tell us a bit about what did you learn in the program that helped you to bring stuff together, and obviously new things as well. What was that experience like, particularly towards the start?
Yeah, I would say a big component was just like the order of operations, just the fact that you had it broken into units of like, these are the effective things to do first. These are the effective things that are kind of complicated. You need to build some skill sets up. And here's like, just do the things in the order. And that's like not intuitive for me. But I was willing to do it and ready to do it. And so just that part was pretty huge of like, do I even focus on the website or the social media, or like, do I try to put all of my effort into client communication? You know, just that guidance in like how to balance the output of effort was a big piece of what I was looking for. And right away, I was having really good results with getting people back in, using the scripts, and just kind of developing the regular basis for that. And then, we just kind of going through this stuff, and also like a lot of the like the vision setting and just dialing in that clarity, and I'm addressing like, who are you looking for? I was very much in the same space that you kind of were describing in some of those training videos, as you can imagine, more than is probably average, of like, I could do a little bit of reflexology, and I could do a little bit of prenatal, and I could do, you know, and like I can. And there was great, you know, confidence building and just like acknowledging that like I do have the skills to address a lot of people, but I don't necessarily just want everybody walking through my door anyway. And so I may as well be working with the people who are attracted to my message more so than the other stuff out there. And I wouldn't say at this moment that I have people just like flocking to me just for neurological stuff, but that having like that clarity out there, and that like the direction in how much to like express your own personality into what you're trying to do, I think made a big difference, where I was seeing people who were more a demographic that I was like excited to work with like right away. So that's been really great.
And look, I think sometimes when we talk about niche, it's like, especially so as a also fellow ADHDer with lots of, you know, likes lots and lots of variety, like don't make me do the same thing. It's almost like niche is a little bit constraining, because it's like, I don't want to have to just see one type of people.
Sure.
Ugh. However, exactly like what you said, just because you get clear on your niche, on who you love working with, doesn't mean that that is all you see and that is chiseled into stone, and so therefore forever you must treat. Not how it works. The purpose is when you get clear on that mission, vision, and values, and you get really clear on where you're going, then you can go, I actually really love these people, so how could I speak my message to them? It doesn't mean that you don't see prenatal, and you don't do kinesiology, and you don't do reflexology, and you know, all the other things. They're still all going to come in, but you're going to get more of the people that you actually love working on. And when you say to someone, I'm a massage therapist, and they go, okay, that's good. And you're like, I'm a massage therapist who specializes in neurological conditions and working with the nervous system, and I work with people who are ADHD and on the spectrum, and they're like, oh, you're right, like, wow. And what will happen is people go, you have to see my son, I have to bring my mum in to see you, oh my gosh, my friend, or I'm coming in to see you. And that's exactly the response you want. And it doesn't mean that that's all you treat, and so it doesn't pigeonhole you at all, but it does give you clarity to kind of make it clear that when you're speaking out on social media and you're talking on your website, it's much easier to speak that message.
Yeah, and as the regulars kind of accumulate too, like of course I'm going to have mothers with ADHD who get pregnant, and I'm having, you know, like different people have different injuries and issues that are like within the range, but that they're expecting an environment and a like a vibe, you know, that is like, they already know it's a match. And so they're going to come see me for the whole range of stuff. So I still get the whole variety, and it just is, you know, progressive. Like I don't have to be out there like on the street corners, like with every possible modality that I've ever done.
Yeah,
That's a relief.
exactly. Woo, so good. I'd have to do it. So what would you say, what are some of the, like what's made some of the greatest differences for you in your business in the way that it's operating now?
I would say that like the element of being able to like focus on like client retention and having that like ongoing relationship was a big piece that like I hadn't fully visualized before starting the program, where like I wanted to see regular people, and I had this idea of like, I would like to see people that like me enough to keep coming back often, but I didn't have a clear image of like how to initiate that or encourage it, or you know, like people need to know that you're even available for that. So many people will assume like, well, people get a massage once a year or whatever. And so like I did it now. And so I think that was a big piece where I started having like really strong retention with my people as I dialed in the different sets of the scripts and the skills of just navigating the people in and navigating them out. And I had felt confident, not like, you know, I wasn't like worried that they wouldn't like me exactly, but just that clarity of, like, it's totally reasonable to just say, like, I think you need a massage next week, you know, like, I mean, that's not how I say it. I use your script, but the suggestion there of like, you know, of the confidence of like, I do think everybody needs a massage basically every week, and especially people with neurological conditions should get a massage every week. I worked hard to get to a place of having a massage most weeks, and when I'm totally hitting all of my targets, I'm gonna get a massage like every other day or something. So like I want people to have the amount that they can have. And so like that, just those little systems for like encouraging people to have a realistic perspective of how long it takes to get the results that they're wanting, and like not feeling like it's problematic for me to already know that they need to come back more frequently.
Yeah.
So
communicate that to them. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And so fun. And we just think, oh, they should know. And if I ask them, oh, they'll think that I am really pushy. And it's like, I'm just going to tell you what I think you need. And it's up to you to do what you like.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what I think you need. And people go, no, I don't want it. Okay, no worries.
Exactly. Say no, say you need to think about it. Say you're saving up to go to New Mexico. I don't care. Like,
but at least you have
probably get a massage next week if you can.
Exactly right. And at least you have done your job as the expert and the trusted advisor in the room to tell them what you think through your expert lens of what it is they need. And that comes from having the confidence. Yes, it has, you know, here's the script of what to say. And it comes from the lens of discovering, you know what, I've got the confidence within me to be able to have those conversations. I can test and measure that, what's working for me and what's not, and then make it your own. Because the way I say it and the way you say it might be totally different. And that's okay, because we're different practitioners. Yeah, fantastic. So how many clients a week are you seeing at the moment? Sort of, have you seen over the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had some crazy life events go off in the last, like about like 6 weeks ago. It was kind of the arc of it. And that was like slowed me down in terms of focusing on the business, and my numbers are like dropped off right now. But it also was like so comforting to see the system in action of like, okay, I'm hands off right now, but I installed the thing and I already have this batch of people that does just expect to come on a routine basis. And so like, even with having no time to be in the office and focus on business, I was just showing up, throwing on sheets, taking a bag of sheets, like for the appointments that were already set, not at all going after additional stuff, but I was able to hit my baseline budget and take care of my like critical needs as they came up, and not like get behind on home bills, like keep paying myself, slow down a little bit on my business expenses, but like within reason, and was able to have that like fluidity to go in and out of seasons of focus. And so now I'm just kind of getting back into the rhythm. So I was pretty steadily hitting like 12 to 14 hours of hands-on, which a lot of my appointments are really long. And so I track in the hours per week of hands-on rather than appointments. But that dropped down to like 5 appointments a week, which I didn't actually count up how many hours. Several of them were still like 2 hours. So I was maybe like in the, like 6 to 9 range for a while there. And just in the last few days, like fired back off the ads that I had queued up that had been working before. And I don't have all of them. Like, honestly, I am all over the board, Alicia. Like, I have done like so sporadic. Like, I went through the list in the order, and then also just like did a piece here, did a piece there, did a piece there. So I have like 3 out of the 6 ads like already set up and queued up, but like they're good, and eventually I'll sit down and do the rest of them. But I had like 2 that I felt were really good and like had been getting good results already. So I just popped those back out there, and my next week started like popping back in. And so I think this week I'm still like a little bit on the lower side, but my next week looks more or less booked out already from just that. And like I can't think of a single other thing that I did, honestly, right now.
So let me kind of, for those listening, so there was, so Adele's implemented stuff in a way that's worked for her, hit some external roadblocks to the business. So there's some stuff going on external too, because hello, she's a human with a pulse, and this happens to us all. We have external circumstances that are super challenging, and we put our business not on the back burner, but just on maintenance mode. That's like, I'm not going out there doing lives. I'm not like putting out ads. I'm just going to show up, do the towels, make sure everyone's safe, all that kind of stuff. Great.
Yeah.
And then when and then when I'm emotionally ready, because I've dealt with whatever the circumstances were, now I can actually do this in an entirely new way, but I'm actually bringing in the stuff that I know works, which, like we said, we've got 6 different ad templates. You don't have to use all 6, just so you know, Adele. You're meant to use them exactly as you are. Set up 3 and go, those 2 works, done. Hey, look, I'm ready to get back into it. The energy is right. The circumstances have sorted themselves out. I'm ready to pour myself back into this. Boom, off we go, and we're booked out next week. This is exactly how it's meant to be. Business is seasons. We have summer, winter, fall, and spring. And so there are different seasons. Sometimes we have a winter season where it's like, this just needs to go over here and percolate. And I know that the roots are going deeper, and that's good because the structure I've put in is going to work. So allow me to get through whatever is coming up for me. And then it's summertime, which is where we just go, hell for leather, go nuts, put everything out there. And it's okay to be able to implement. And that's exactly what we anticipate business being able to be like. It's not just going to be full steam ahead all the time, because that would be having a summer business all the time. And it just doesn't work like that. It's meant to go up and down, with our lives, and be able to be calibrated so that you don't have challenging circumstances. It dies, and you come back to crickets chirping, and you're like, great. So now I'm feeling a bit flat because I've just dealt with, World War III in my external life, and now I'm broke, and etc. So you actually know what your break-even point is. You're paying yourself. All of your bills got paid, both in the business and at home, even while things were just on maintenance.
Yes. And that was really fast. Like, that had gone from, I don't know when I officially started the program, but it took me a little while to like get ramped into even taking action. It was maybe like April. And so like it's a few months I had like gotten this thing off the ground where it was like able to operate. So, and there was something in the, in one of the original calls with the coach before I was all the way signed up in the program that Sally was saying, like, how does it sound to be able to know what to do to like turn the tap on and off? And that like stuck in my mind. One, because Great job, Sally. That's an excellent line. And I'm going to save that for something eventually. And also, like, yes, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to have the flexibility in my life and my own like chaotic reality to adjust to the pressure as I go, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the purpose of marketing. And to understanding it is that you can just turn the tap on, turn the tap off, and go, like you said, park it over here, let it just do its thing. I'm going to show up, do an amazing job, I'm going to leave and go deal with whatever. Tell us a bit about, without sharing too much of what's been going on, but I know that your lens at the way you've been able to navigate circumstances has changed. Is that something that you can share? Is there something in that you could share with us today?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I would say there were a lot of pieces that were kind of intersecting from a lot of different angles for me. And like, you know, we all have our stories and they're very complex and interwoven. And some people are just really complex and interwoven, and it's how it is. So I think it was the right timing, like kind of, if you want to take the like cosmic, like in the universe, like this was the intersection where I was ready to watch videos of you and James and go through a list of instructions and start getting results. And I think there's something to that too, of just like, you kind of know when it's time for things sometimes. And that was like a window where I think previously in my life, I had a lot of different points where I kind of knew it was time for something, but I was so overstimulated and so like not prepared in the fine details to take advantage of opportunities, and so like interested in everything simultaneously, such that my various impulses were like canceling each other out, you know? And so all these things, like I was approaching from different directions already. And then it was the time where like I could feel like I have the opportunity, I have the location, I have the medication, I have the like focus, and a little bit more like support from friends and family had lined up. And so there's a lot in that of just like, when you know, and like, it's so great to be out of the like scramble mode where you can't act on the stuff that comes up. And yeah, that was a big piece. I would also say, like just opening up, you know, is always a bit nerve-wracking to just like raise your hand and be like, I need help. I will pay money for it even. I need it that bad. And that's like, you know, probably held me back in a lot of different things previously. But like, I think there's so much value, like the same that I ask of my clients of like, do you want the benefit of being on my table or like not, you know? Like, if it's not your time, it's not your time. And if you just can't, like, okay, no judgment. But like, if you really want to do something, you'll like gradually eliminate the interference and the like little dumb shit that gets in your way, you know?
Yeah.
And so I felt like I vibed with that in the material that I saw before, even enrolling in the program from you guys. And like right away I was just getting a lot of affirmation and like, all right, this is the part where I gradually go through and eliminate all the little limitations. And like, okay, sometimes it takes me like 47 seconds of scanning a screen to know what button to click next. And I just don't have the automatic tracking. And it's like, well, this is me signing up for like 12 hours working on my website when everyone else is going to do 3. Okay, like whatever.
And that's the thing, like learning. I think this is super important because it's very similar. I'm dyslexic. And I look at stuff, James will look at my screen and go, it's just there, top left. And I'm like, top where? Like,
right.
Like which top left are we talking about? And he's like, that button there. And then I see it, but I don't see it beforehand. And this is what I love. This is the power of online video training, is you can pause, rewatch, pause, rewatch, pause, rewatch. And I built the first website we had for Fully Booked Without Burnout. I built it, and I built it because I wanted to be able to say, I know, right? Like, you got to be kidding me. You watched it 12 times, I watched it 15 times, because I literally had no clue. I did sit next to a web designer who said I can do it. And I'm like, I'm actually okay with asking for help. However, I want to have the experience of listening to a tutorial, clicking a button, and figuring out how to do this. Don't ask me to do it again, but I don't have to, so that's okay. But it did mean that I could edit it anytime I knew, and I knew how to do that. That made sense. I still made mistakes, but it was a lot easier because I'd actually built it myself. And I think that that's something that we often do, is we think well, first of all, we have this perception that everybody else is doing it way better than me, whether it's fitness, learning, websites, whatever. And it's not true. And that's part of why we have our live calls, to realize, oh, actually, maybe I'm a little bit like them as well. Okay, cool. I'm all right with that. And the other thing that I think is really important is to just remove that judgment, because how much easier is it to do 12 hours on a website when you think everyone's done 3, but to go, oh, who cares? And now I have a website that works, and I built that, and go me. And it wasn't necessarily simple, but it was easy because somebody was walking me through, and James is very methodical. He's very calming. He's got a lovely slow voice, and he does walk people through that stuff. And it's, oh, that's so nice. Thanks, James. And you can message him and go, hey, guess what? And you can message him, guess what, I did this. And he'll be like, oh, wow, that's so exciting. You're like, oh, yeah. And I know that's really encouraging. Learning. It's a part of how we learn. And we often think as adults that we have to have all of our shit together like that. And it's not true. We can't skip what my daughter, she's in primary school, calls the learning pit. And the learning pit is, this is so hard and uncomfortable and learning. And I love how you put getting rid of all the little distractions, slowly phasing out the distractions to go, fine, I'm okay to I'm going to just surrender to the learning pit. And here I am, let me learn. I'll still do it in my way. I'll still scan things and not see them. But you know what? This is how I'm doing it. And the difference that it makes, as you can hear from your story of now knowing how to get yourself fully booked within a couple of weeks after having it on the back burner, learning how to navigate different, circumstances, both in the business and out the business, understanding what's your break-even point. How do you keep the roof over you, keep the 4 walls up at work and the 4 walls up at home, and know that you can still do that on autopilot. And now you've actually got the capacity to generate because you've got the energy there to do it. How much more longevity do you have in your business when you're calibrating based on what it is you actually need in it, as opposed to just trying to put it together, piecing together bits and pieces?
Exactly. And it's just, it really creates that sense of stability of like, yes, I can just back off if I need to, but also there's going to be places where I have a burst and I have a lot available, and having that like guidance of like, okay, where do I direct this energy? I don't really need to go like take every myofascial training on the internet or whatever, like, like let's put it somewhere where it will keep paying for itself too.
Because you can always come back to the course and keep working through the modules.
Exactly.
Because you get lifetime access. So anything you're like, oh, I need to go back and tweak that or rewatch that, you've got the capacity to. Adele, before we finish up today, if someone was listening to this and they were thinking about joining the program and they weren't sure, what would you say to somebody who was in that situation?
Yeah, I would say just absolutely, like, if you meet the qualifications of like, you actually know what you're doing and are like a decent person and are willing to do the work, like, go for it. Like, you guys have been so flexible with me, and like the early window where even just like getting my bank accounts to draft right has been like, I'm just bad at certain things, but like the like nurturing and flexibility was there. If the like money is the biggest question, like, it's okay. And if the time is the biggest question, like, you have all the material, you can come back to it however many times, it's okay. If it's like, whatever, just, I guess I would say, like, out of all of my mental possible excuses and all my dumb little limitations, like, it felt like they were all really silly. Like, once I got going and once I was doing the thing, I was like, this is like ridiculous that people don't get the assistance that they need, like, ever. And that I would like try to tackle this whole subject on my like 10 hours of massage school business training. Like, what on earth? So definitely go for it. And these guys are so great. They've been so kind and supportive, and like literally I'd probably pay the same money again just to like hear you guys say the nice things about me without the information, because the encouragement is that valuable, but the information is like a whole nother like layer of value. It's so wonderful. And I'm totally going to be back when I'm hiring somebody in like 6 months or something, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Adele. It's been a delight working with you, and an absolute delight listening to you today as well. I know lots of people that will be listening to this will really resonate with your story, and I know that that's going to help them in their journey as well. So thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Felicia. It was great to hear from you and get a little one-on-one today. Have a good rest of your day.